Remy, you are on the air.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi, so I wanted to ask you guys about raising children and having a poly relationship. Typically, what I've seen is the people that I've tend to see are like people with hierarchical relationships, so they have like usually a primary and that sort of thing. But I wasn't sure if there was any stories that maybe you guys have of people who are raising children in non-hierarchical relationships.
Yeah, I think you're right that tends to be the more typical way of going about it, but it's certainly not the only way. I mean, not to keep repeating ourselves, but there are absolutely a million different ways to go about it. Clearly with children, you want to tread a little bit more lightly, but this is, again, where I would really strongly recommend The Polyamorous Next Door by Elizabeth Sheff. I've mentioned her before, and it'll be in the post-show notes. But that book in particular really dives into different relationship configurations. She does a ton of interviews with the children in those situations, with the parents in those situations, and basically found out that, kind of like most every other child, kids don't really give a shit about their parents' sex lives. And
yeah, apart from not really wanting to know a whole lot about it.
Yeah. So really the takeaway is that kids will be kids, and kids who are surrounded by love and stability tend to be happier. But
whatever that
life.
Stability is.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just the stability piece is the important part.
And actually, for a lot of kids, it's a big benefit because the more loving grown-ups to support them, the better.
Having your favorite uncle live in the house with you and help with the groceries, help with the driving,
and
or
teach your baseball team. And
so you've got more people to help you with homework who may have different specialties. You've got more people to actually be available to pick you up from soccer practice. It's not a bad thing for kids.
Yeah.
I mean, that's totally kind of what I've been feeling in my own life. You know, like I'm a single person, and I kind of and I work with kids, but I also have like relationships with like friendships where they have children, and kind of being that influence in their life is still really meaningful. You know, I guess that the part I was thinking about was kind of negotiating, you know, how to talk to kids about, like, you know, the relationship that you might have with somebody, you know, not necessarily sexual, but like especially like in a romantic situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't do enough to recommend that particular book as the best way to answer that question. In short, I would say that it's not as tricky as people seem to think that it is.
Right.
You really just are being open, honest, age-appropriate in the same ways that you are with any other part of life.
It's very much like my kids had a student that they were in school with when they were probably kindergarten who had two mommies. And I remember fielding the "why does she have two mommies" question, and I just went, because they love each other. And
that's all it really took.
And my kids kind of went, okay. I mean,
we as adults tend to feel like this is breaking the rules, this is what they're going to expect, and my kid doesn't do well with change. And, you know, kids are just taking the world in. They're used to change in terms of their mental framework. They're constantly being approached by new ideas because all the ideas are new. So when you throw a new idea at them, they're going to actually handle it a lot better than their parents often do.
So
I've definitely found that to be the case in many situations. I guess that was the one thing that I personally have been hung up on with my own identity and being like open and poly and that kind of thing is like, what would this mean for like, you know, when I decide to bring children in my life, like how can I navigate this, you know? And
I've been right there with you. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that some self-doubt about, oh my God, why am I doing this to myself? Why am I making life so hard? It comes part and parcel with the decision to live as a polyamorous person, with the decision to be open to family and friends, with all of these types of choices. There are going to be moments of, oh my God, what did I get myself into? Can I really pull this off? And that is A-okay. Self-doubt is part of life. You know, you want to trust yourself through that doubt, but make allowances for it too. You know, ask yourself, why am I so full of insecurity right now? Because maybe there is something that needs to change, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that just because you feel doubtful or lonely or nervous that you're doing anything wrong.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to check yourself, but that doesn't mean you need to drag yourself down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Does
Awesome.
does that help answer?
Yes, totally. And I will look up that book later for sure.
Okay, please do. Yeah, we will definitely link to it in the notes. I'm sure it's on previous episodes as well, but
It's a good one.
yeah.
Well, thank you
Awesome.
so much.
Thank you so much.
And please
You too.
call back again. So, do we have time for our last caller? I think maybe we do.
I think we can fit him in.